All right. Let me just make sure my camera is good. And I think we are live. So, hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Let me know where you're watching from. I'm back in Austin. I have washed my flight suit. There was something that I needed to wash off of here. But I just wanted to kind of go over my experience and answer any questions that you have. I was just interviewed actually about my zero G flight. And so I thought that we could have a fun discussion. And then I'm actually releasing a video tomorrow because I interviewed the 3 astronauts who were on the flight with us, including Doug Hurley, including Nicole Stott, and one of the few remaining surviving Apollo moonwalkers, Charlie Duke, who was also on the flight. And I gotta say, he's 88 years old, but man, he did a better job than I did. It didn't seem to phase him. So I just thought that we could talk about the experience. And that video will be coming out tomorrow. And I will also be releasing a very in depth kind of guide to what you can expect on your zero G flight, what you go through mentally, what you go through physically, and sort of minute by minute how the flight actually plays out. Because I don't think there's a lot of information online besides seeing, cool videos of people floating around and it looks really cool. But if someone's going to spend this amount of money, which it's a lot of money, just to let you know, I was fortunate to win a contest from Moondow. So thank you to the Moondow community. But because I'm a journalist and I want to keep it real with you guys, I don't want to sugarcoat things. I think it's valuable to know, what to expect for the experience. So that video will be coming out soon. But tomorrow's video, we're going to talk to those astronauts and hopefully you enjoy those interviews. I thought it was interesting too. Doug Hurley's son, who's 14, was also on the flight. It was his first time in zero gravity. And he joined the sick section with me and several others. So it was definitely a very interesting experience. Let me read some of these comments. Bimmer Geezer, how you doing? Some of my subscribers, actually, 4 of you decided to join me on the flight, which is still crazy to me to have that kind of support. And so I was able to share the experience with some of you guys that subscribe to my channel and that watch my videos. So Ross says that he's excited for those interviews. I think you're really going to like them, particularly talking to Charlie Duke. I mean, this is someone who's actually experienced lunar gravity, right? So we were able to experience lunar gravity, 1/6 of the gravity here on Earth. And we were able to do that for 3 parabolas. So those were our starting sort of, warm up, I would say. But Charlie's actually experienced lunar gravity. He knows what it's like to be on the moon. So I asked him how realistic it was. I think you'll really enjoy the interviews. So please do me a favor and watch that video when it comes out tomorrow. It would really help out my channel. Felix's FaceTime says hello. Felix actually just interviewed me about my experience and had some really great questions. So if you want to watch his video, that video will be coming out soon as well. So let me just make sure I address everyone. Michael is asking how the flight was. We're going to get into that. Wildcard Adventures says congrats. And yes, I've had a few days to sort of reflect on this. The flight was actually Friday, so it's Monday. I've had some days to think about it, and obviously I've been able to catch up on sleep and, feel a lot better. Yeah, Jamie says, I would have been puking right along with you, but still would love to go. So one of the most interesting things to me is that typically, at least the zero G people say, not a lot of people get sick. This flight, there were 9 of us by the end of the flight that were in the 6th section, which is basically where the seats are in the plane. And that seemed like an awfully, large amount of people to be feeling sick. And it's a very disorienting experience. It gives me a tremendous respect for astronauts or fighter pilots, people that, put their body through something that's so unnatural, and it's not for everyone. It's interesting too to see how some people are built for this. Some people, it really doesn't faze them, and I can't even mentally comprehend that, because for me and some of the others, we were definitely impacted in not a good way. Scott, thank you so much for the super chat. Check your inbox. I definitely will. I've been catching up. We just got home yesterday. It was sort of a hellish day through the Orlando airport to get back to here in Austin. So I'm happy to be back home, which is why I just wanted to get here and go live with you guys. Check out this space pen, by the way. I haven't even opened it. They gave everyone a space pen. They gave everyone these flight suits that I'm wearing. So wow, that's kind of cool. It looks like a little crater from the moon here. Yeah, so let me show you my flight, or my suit from the flight. There's an American flag. We have the 0G logo, and we have the G-Force One patch. So this is, I mean, it looks kind of like what you would have any flight suit look like. So I think it's really cool that we got to take this home, and they're actually quite comfy. And basically, when you get there, you're fitted for your suit. You change into suit and socks, and they remove your shoes on the plane, and then you're off to the races. So let's see here. Yes, Marina is excited for the interviews with the astronauts. I'm very excited because I actually interviewed these people back in October. I did a private tour of the Johnson Space Center, and unfortunately, due to some confusion about permissions, I wasn't able to air that footage. So I've had interviews with these folks for a while now, and so I'm glad that I was able to get the footage again, and you guys get to hear from them, because especially Ross makes a good point. So few moonwalkers left. Sadly, Charlie said there's 4 remaining. Maybe someone can fact check me on that, but yeah, it's absolutely true that not many Apollo moonwalkers are left. And so I feel like so honored to have been able to interview Charlie. And my gosh, is he in great condition, 88 years old, and he's doing so much better than me on this flight. But maybe that's why he became an astronaut. So yes, so let me just get caught up on the comments here. So this is a great question. Zap fan wants to know, did I take the drugs? They gave us non-drowsy Dramamine. I took 2 of them. Most people only took 1. I took 2 of them, and I'll explain why I think some things I could have done better, or some things that were out of my control. So I've actually read that you're supposed to take Dramamine the day before as well, to sort of get it in your system. I didn't hear anyone else say I needed to do that. That's something that I feel like I could have done better by, kind of dosing up and putting it in my system the day before as well. So I would have done that differently, but I took 2 Dramamine. And also we didn't get a lot of sleep. So at, basically later in the day before, they changed the check-in time from 7:45 a.m. to 5:45 a.m., which I was still on Austin time. So check-in would actually be 4:45 a.m. in my body. And we just didn't get a lot of sleep. I was really, really struggling to sleep the night before. I think I was very anxious and excited. I was anticipating what the next day was going to be like. So I think not getting sleep definitely affected me. The other thing that they provide you with is not only Dramamine, which pretty much everyone took. You should definitely take Dramamine. They also give you a rescue band, and that gives you a pulse throughout the flight. And that's supposed to help you stay more, equilibrium, get less disoriented. I'm glad that you like my braids. I decided to just try a different look today. And let's see. Art by Eliza wants to know who was on the 6 section. So I was sort of in my own world, just trying to stay calm, I threw up about 4 times. So that was cool. And then after that, I was just sort of in a trance, because the problem is, they want to get through these parabolas. So you're going in 0G, and then you're having about 2 Gs of forces on your body. You're going in 0 G over and over. I guess it would be 0 G, G forces, 0 G, G forces. And if you're already sick, you want to take a break from it. In fact, you want to get off the plane, but you can't. So you just got to ride it out. And I'm not sure exactly who all of the people were in the sick section, but there were, people of all different ages back there. So it's really hard to pin down who's going to feel sick and who is not going to feel sick. But I'm going to share some video right now because I think that it just helps to talk over video here. Let's see, maybe this is a good layout here. And so this initial video that we're seeing, and I still don't have the GoPro footage from the actual 0G crew. But this video that you're seeing is from Scott Walter's Apple Vision Pro. So let me just pause it to emphasize that one of my patrons, Scott Walter, probably the first person to ever use Apple Vision Pro in 0G. I don't know how he didn't get sick. He tried to simulate the lunar environment while doing lunar gravity, but there were some issues with the pass-through and the tracking and the IMU getting disoriented. So anyway, this is video from his Apple Vision Pro. I don't have the main GoPro footage that 0G provides. They set up probably 6 to 8 cameras all throughout the cabin. And keep in mind, the cabin is a modified Boeing 727. So it's they modify it, they pad it out, and they have a few seats, but really there's maybe 28 people total on the plane. So it's a small crew, and a lot of that room they need to have for the people in 0G. Now they separate you into 2 sections. So they have about, let's see, maybe 8 to 10 people in each section. And one of the things too that was kind of interesting to me, the actual 0G zone was much smaller than I expected. In the videos, it looks like you have all this space to fly around. And I'm not sure if you can tell from this video, but it was kind of small. It kind of surprised me. So here we are. What they have you do first, you can see us all. This is this part. If you can see me on the ground, this is when one of the flight crew came over and said, "Are you feeling okay?" And I said, "I don't think so." And then maybe 2 minutes later, I started puking. But they have you start every single parabola laying down. So you're laying down, you're being as still as you can, and you want to fixate on one point, and you don't want to move your head around. You don't want to be talking to your friend. It's tempting, but minimizing those movements while you're in the G forces, while you have 2 times your body weight, those forces acting on you is really going to help you not get sick. And I have to say, for the first few parabolas, I was like, wow, I really second guessed myself. I'm not feeling sick at all. I'm actually kind of enjoying this. But the more you do it, the more you start to feel sick. And I will say, think about this. We did 15 parabolas. When you do a research flight and you're actually doing this for science or as an astronaut, they typically do 60 parabolas, which is just crazy for me to think about, because after 6, I didn't want to do the rest of them, but I was kind of forced to do them. So it's very interesting. And I'm going to get to some of these comments here, but I just want to get through some of this video because I think you'll find it interesting. So here I am, the flight attendant is asking me if I'm feeling sick, and I say yes. And so what they do is they put you in those chairs behind us. And the idea is if you get, strapped in, you put your seatbelt in, you're having less movement and you're able to sort of control your sickness a little bit better. But there's my boyfriend. He was doing great, and he just tends to do good on roller coasters. So it really affects everyone differently. You can see people holding on. There are some ropes. And that's something that you can hold on to as well, so that if you start to feel a little bit like you're chaotic and maybe doing somersaults that you don't want to do, holding onto the rope is a good way to minimize your movement during the 0G. And there's Doug Hurley. And let's see here. That's one of my patrons actually that came on the flight, and some Moondow crew. And so you can see out of the windows too, which was actually really cool. I wish I could have watched it during the actual parabolas, but I wasn't near the window. One of the interesting things too, you don't want to be in the seated section. You ideally want to be out having fun. But it was interesting sitting in the seats and sort of having this play go on in front of me of people in zero G. And it was an experience that you see the videos, but it's a lot different. Feeling the G forces and feeling the zero G, and then just seeing the chaos right in front of you. So here's our shuttle ride over to where we flew out of. There's that band that I was talking about that they gave me. It was super sunny. I was very tired, but we just had to push through. So here we are approaching the plane, and I'm really starting to get excited at this point. Here's the modified Boeing 727. And you'll notice that the engines are actually closer to the back of the plane. And apparently that's strategic. They need to use these planes. They're not using newer planes. This is like what I heard from a flight attendant. So I haven't verified it, but apparently they want to have those engines in the back so that it makes it easier to do the zero G maneuvers. And it was very loud in there too. I will have to say it was very loud. So here we are. We're all gathering for a group photo. This is before anyone got sick and everyone's feeling good. There's my boyfriend and I, and I am just feeling so excited to go on the flight. Here we are getting ushered to the steps. There's Doug and his son walking to the zero G plane. And the crew members, you've probably seen some of those faces in the promotional material because it seems like they use a lot of the same teachers, and they're great teachers at that. They really do want to take care of you and have you have a good time. So here we are waiting to go up there, and here I am going into the plane, the point of no return. Now, the actual flight is about 2 hours long. So you're not in zero G and high Gs, during that whole time. That section, I would say, lasts less than an hour. So we actually flew, and you're going to see a map here in a second, but we actually flew out of Orlando west over the state of Florida into the Gulf area. So we flew quite a ways to actually get into the zone that we needed to be in. So here I am, not sure what's going to happen, but you know what? You get an opportunity and smile, you say yes to it. So this is that band that I was talking about. This is a relief band. You can see that there are 5 little dots. You can change the strength of the shock. And what happens, how you know it's working, is that you get it in a certain location on your wrist. And when it does the little pulse, you'll feel it in your middle finger, and it'll feel almost like a little mini shock. And that is supposed to help with the motion sickness. So it's hard to say if it helped with me, but I did use it, and I had it on a level 3, and then I moved it up to a level 4. So here's what I'm talking about. As you can see, this is our flight path. So we flew out of Orlando, we went all the way over the state of Florida, and then we were there in the Gulf. And one of the interesting things too is I asked the flight attendants, hey guys, why were like 9 of us sick and only 13 of us still hanging out in the zero G? That seems like an awfully, a lot of people getting sick today. And you say, no, a lot of people get sick. They said, well, it was pretty turbulent today. So it was very windy out there. That affected things. And also look at how many turns that we did. We had to turn so many times. And when you're in the parabolas, it's even hard to tell if you're turning or not. So I think that it was a route where, an airspace where apparently we were turning more than normal. And it was also a turbulent day. So of course, that is going to have an impact. And let me hide this comment here so we can see. So here I am just showing the flight path that we took. And I think it's actually really cool that they show us the flight path that you take. I think that's pretty cool. So here I am. This is me trying the Apple Vision Pro back on the ground because I'm not a psycho and I'm not going to wear it on zero G because I know myself. And here he is showing me the pass through. So even though I was in a lunar environment and it looked like I was standing on the moon, he's able to jump scare me and still come through the Apple Vision Pro. So we'll replay that video here in a little bit, but I want to get to some of these questions. But basically, that's just some idea of what the flight was like and how it looked on the plane. So let's see. So how much per training did you have to do? I think you're asking how much training did we have to do? We basically, checked in that morning. They showed us a 6-minute orientation video. They gave a little speech. They asked if anyone had questions, and that was it. So when we were on the plane, it was very clear that you wanted to start laying down. You wanted to stay still with your eyes fixated on a point, and you didn't want to move your head around a lot, and to kind of ease into it slowly. So, not to do your first parabola and immediately start trying to do somersaults or the hamster wheel, which is where you start on one side and you kind of climb around upside down and do a whole wheel spin or whatever. So I did follow those rules, but they do give you some guidance, but it's not like something where you need a ton of training. In fact, like I said, we had people well into their 80s and 90s on the flight. So it's definitely open to people of all ages, but someone as young as 14 can get sick too. It's really a wild card. Mark, thank you. He says, great job. Puke happens. Second time will be a breeze. If I get a second time, I have to say, and this is kind of one of the main points that I'm going to be making in my video, I'm very fortunate that I won this experience and was able to do it. And I'm so glad that I did. I really am. But if I were to do it a second time and pay for it, I don't know if I could justify paying that amount of money. I think, if this is something that you can afford and it's not going to make a dent for you, sure, go ahead. But it is a luxury. And I don't work for Zero G. I'm very grateful for the experience, and to Moondao as well. But this is a luxury experience for sure. And so if you're someone like me that already knows that you get sick on roller coasters, you might be in for a bad time. So it's totally on you if you want to go through that. But once you're feeling sick, you're stuck until the end of the flight, and it's probably going to take a lot of energy out of you. And yeah, so let's see here. I'm reading some of the comments. Michael wants to know, how were the theme parks in Orlando? I'll get to that in a little bit, but I did want to bring up an interesting thing, and I didn't realize this. I went on a roller coaster the day after the flight. Only went on it once, thinking, okay, maybe, I've had more training and I won't get sick on the roller coaster because I've done something way crazier. No, I did feel very sick on the roller coaster. I didn't go on it again. But this was the Everest roller coaster in Animal Kingdom. And they start off pretty tame, and then they take you backwards. They have you do a loop backwards. They have you do corkscrews backwards. And apparently the ride gets up to 3G. So 3G forces, which is even more than what we felt on the zero gravity flight, which kind of blew my mind. I was watching some videos too of astronauts training in the centrifuge for the G forces training. And, some of these astronauts are training up to 8Gs. So I kind of feel like a wimp, but it really depends on the person. And someone who's a fighter pilot may feel sick in 0G. Someone who feels sick in 0G may not feel sick in space. So it's just a really interesting sort of grab bag with what's going to happen to your body. And I asked the astronauts after, hey, should I, rule out space? And just adamantly, they said, absolutely not. You should not rule out space. You are not alone. A lot of people experience this. And it's something that, especially if you make it to the ISS, you will adapt. So it was just a very interesting experience, and it gives me a lot of appreciation for what people go to. Let's see here. Yes, 4 moonwalkers is correct. So 4 surviving moonwalkers: Aldrin, Scott, Duke, and Schmidt. And I'm very grateful to have been able to interview one of them. So I'm excited for you to see that interview. Let's see. I'm just reading some of the comments. Apparently, yes, Dramamine. Maybe I should have taken it as well 24 hours before the mission. And, if I did get an opportunity to do it again somehow, I would be curious to really, really get a good night's sleep, get several good nights of sleep, take the Dramamine a couple days before. I think there's things I could have done better, but there's also things that if you're just not built for it, it's hard to change that about your body. And some people's vestibular systems are just better than others. It's really that simple. So let me read some of these comments here. Do you think you'll be able to handle it better next time? Like you'll get used to it? Will there be a next time? So, if I had to pay for it, I don't think there will be a next time. I think that's, it's about $12,000 per flight. So I can't see myself wanting to pay to put myself in that situation. But if they needed me for motion sickness research, and I could just go complimentary, I would do it again. But I would need some break in between. And thank you, Sentinel, for the $20 super sticker. Thank you guys, everyone who super chats and supports the channel. I actually put out a video this weekend. I'm coming up on basically the 3-year anniversary of being monetized on my channel. And every little bit of support helps, especially if you guys check out my Patreon, because YouTube, surprisingly enough, takes 45% of creator earnings, which surprised a lot of you guys. But yes, so Ross wants to know, did I feel nervous or excited immediately before the flight? I felt excited. I will say at that point, I was feeling excited. And one thing too, if you guys have been following my channel for a while, you may know that I've had some, fear around flying back and forth. And I feel like this flight actually helped my fear of just flying in general, any sort of turbulence. Because I'm like, if we're able to have a pilot who's also experiencing zero G control a plane that's just nosediving over and over on purpose, and we're fine, maybe I don't really have anything to worry about. So I think it actually will help me in the future with flying. Video of me barfing. So Zero G has GoPro footage. They will be releasing that in a few days. I hope that there's some way that you can see me in the back section. I have not seen the footage yet. So unfortunately, while I was, puking my brains out, I just didn't have the energy to get out my phone and do a selfie of that. Plus I had to have 2 hands on the bag. And here's the interesting thing too. I mean, this may be TMI, but throwing up in zero G versus 2G, they both are terrible, but they're both very different sensations. If you're vomiting sort of in 2G, you're vomiting with pressure on your body, and it's like it's really hard. It's even harder to vomit. However, if you're vomiting in 0G, like the water from a water bottle, like a pen, like a ball, it all starts to go around the place. And so I really had to expand my bag and keep things contained. And apparently someone on the flight actually did experience the Vomit Comet in the 0G section. So people were having to dodge things, but I won't get too into detail because I don't want to gross you guys out. How much time in zero gravity did you get? So we did about 15 parabolas. They say we did an extra 5. I don't know if we did. It didn't feel like we did. It didn't seem like my internal clock or count was at 20. But even if we did, let's say we did 20 parabolas, or you're only in zero gravity for about 30 seconds each time. So like the 0G portion is extremely short, very short. And yes, Pete makes a good point. Thank you for the super sticker. I do appreciate that. Wildcard Adventures wants to know how akin to skydiving it is. I haven't skydived, but I have a feeling that if I did, I wouldn't get sick skydiving like I did on 0G. I think part of the problem with 0G is that you're doing so many transitions that your body doesn't have time to adapt. If we were able to just stay in one state of being for a while, you could adapt. One of the things that I did appreciate is, the flight crew is noticing what's going on. So I don't know if this is standard protocol, but they did about 3 or 4 0G parabolas, and then they took a break. So they sort of leveled out the plane. They took a break. That kind of gave us all a chance to feel a little bit better again. And then, they had to go right back into it. But it was nice to, not have it completely just back to back, or else I was very scared I would pass out. One interesting thing too is that in the 6-minute video that they showed us before the flight, they did warn us about the signs of hypoxia. And one of those signs is extreme drowsiness. And so, obviously not everyone was feeling that way, but I was getting after I'd thrown up all I could throw up. I was getting very drowsy, and I was just like, if we keep doing this, I might just pass out. And that's a scary feeling. You don't want your body to throw up. You don't want your body to faint. Those things are like, it's scary when your body doesn't feel like it is in, or you're not in control of your body. So how did 2G feel? 2G felt like just so much pressure was on you. And it was interesting too, because the seats, they like reclined, like they reclined way more than this seat. And I was like, trying to keep my seat upright, but I think that they're made so that you can literally, recline with the force. And even just like lifting up your hand, I tried to like adjust my seatbelt, and just even like micro movements felt so much like heavier and more effort and strange. And so that was 2G. Some people train up to 8G. I can't fathom that. I really can't. It does give you a lot of respect for the people that are doing this for real. So let me see here. I'm going to play that video again just for the people that are joining us, just because I think it's interesting while I'm talking here. So again, this is that footage from the Apple Vision Pro. But let's see here. So did I get a window seat in the back? There were no windows in the actual seating section. So if you wanted to look out the window, you had to be in the 0G section. And at that point, I was just, once I sat down, I knew I wasn't going to get back up. My initial thought was I was going to sit it out for a few parabolas, get back to normal, but I never got back to normal, which really sucked. So let's see here. Can you talk about the talk and the training they gave prior to the flight? It wasn't much. It was kind of like, hey, we're experts. We've been doing this for over 20 years. We're going to take care of you today. Follow our instructions, take this medication, have this light breakfast. And, some people in the comments on YouTube already, they're like, oh, well, you did things wrong. You probably ate too much or ate the wrong thing. And they provide you with bagels and, a very like kind of fast digesting, not super heavy breakfast. I had half a bagel. Actually, mostly what came out was from the night before, from my dinner, which, geez, that's not great. And fun fact, it was actually bright blue because I had a bright blue ice cream the night before. Cookie Monster was the flavor. So that was kind of hilarious in retrospect. Marina, thank you for the compliment. You do such great things. Do it again. I'm not writing it off forever, but am I going to spend money on this personally? I just, it's too much money to justify that. What was your altitude at Apogee? I think it was somewhere around 34,000, but I'd have to check. And, one of my regrets is I didn't get to interview the pilot. That was one of the people that I was most interested in interviewing, and they had to immediately fly to Houston after the flight. So didn't get to interview the pilot, would have loved to do that. But maybe someday I'll get to talk to a 0G pilot. Have I seen the OK Go video? I've seen portions of it. So this is talking about the music video that was filmed in 0G. And fun fact, apparently behind the scenes, the artists who were in the 0G video actually felt completely fine. But the production crew who was, having to look through a lens and stuff, all got very sick. And apparently I was told that they didn't take the medicine. And so it really does make a difference to take the medicine. Even if you don't normally get sick, it's non-drowsy. So just take it would be my advice. And one interesting thing too, is like those relief bands were supposed to be just in case, but they gave them to everyone and like encourage everyone to wear it. So it makes me think that more people get sick than maybe they want to talk about or that people like to admit. Let's see here, reading some of these comments. Yeah. Keith, I mean, you have the same outlook as me. Knowing full well I would puke, I would still go. What an amazing experience. It's definitely something that I will never, ever forget. And it's fun to talk about with you guys. And so I'm just trying to be, straightforward and let you know what it was really like. let's see here. Great video clips. This really brings it to life. I'm glad you're enjoying them. And I'll have the full GoPro footage soon. So that will give us a lot more sort of, a better view of what everything was like. Bimmer Geezer, who was actually on the flight, who did get sick with me. So we were both in the sick section. He says that he's actually sailed a ton and still got sick. So this is, sailing is obviously another motion sickness inducing activity. And it just all depends on the person. It's really interesting how that works. Marina, I'm glad that you're enjoying hearing about the experience. Scott says the turns would kill me before the parabola would. I think the turns, I didn't know how many turns we had done. And apparently it was a lot, and it was more than usual. It was hard to sense when we were turning, as weird as that sounds, but you have to just imagine that made a big difference. And so Bimmer Geezer, who also got sick with me, said for him, it was the bottom of the parabola that did it to me, high G's. So I think the high G's definitely, I mean, it's not a good feeling. Felix Spacetime, who just interviewed me, wanted to know what I do, just a purely high G activity, like, being in a fighter plane. And no, I don't think I would want to. I think that it's, like a high G roller coaster. I just don't feel good doing it. So yeah, not a fan. How did Jack Hurley do? Doug's son. He did not do so well. He got sick like me. And it was interesting talking to him because both of his parents are astronauts. And so naturally I'm like, do you want to be an astronaut? And he's like, no, not really. And I'm like, what is it like to have parents that are astronauts? Oh, it doesn't really faze me. Like they've always been astronauts. So it must be interesting being the son of two astronauts. Wasn't Doug's son? Yeah, Doug's son was sick, and I felt so bad because we're sitting in the seats, and I see Doug just standing there, in zero G. Everything is crazy behind him, and he looks so worried for his son. So he's a great father, and it happens. People get sick, and luckily, once you get on the ground again, you start to feel better. So let me read here. Yeah, I mean, Sasha wants to know, could you imagine experiencing this weightlessness in space for a week if it's guaranteed that you won't get sick? I would love that. And there's a possibility that if I made it to space and for some reason was in the ISS, that I wouldn't feel sick. And this is a little anecdote that Doug told me. His wife, who's an astronaut, had the same reaction that I did in the zero G. She got super sick and threw up. And in space, she was fine. In fact, in space, someone who had been a fighter pilot was throwing up all over the place, and she was eating an apple. So it's all different for the person. It's really interesting. Let's see. So how did it exactly happen? Hopefully there was a barf bag. Oh, let me pull off this video here. I went from feeling like I was okay to feeling bad, and they have you do those hand signals like, in less than 2 minutes. And so they gave everyone a barf bag. And I think some people kind of scoff at that and like, oh, I won't need this. Well, you'd be surprised. So yes, I had a bag, and then they provided me with a second bag. And, the flight crew is like pretty well attentive. They immediately took the bag from me once it was full, so I didn't have to deal with that. I mean, that plane, man, I wonder how they clean it, because there's been so much vomit in that plane. And it's not always in the bag. Let me tell you, it's not always in the bag. Another thing that actually stressed me out, I just remembered this. There is no bathroom on the plane. So you're on the plane for 2 hours. And if sometimes scared the shit out of you, right? Like sometimes people react. So luckily that didn't happen, but there's no way to go to the bathroom. So, you really have to make sure that you get all of that out. And it's unfortunate. Like, I think it'd be cool if they had, an astronaut toilet or something. Because obviously there's concern with just putting a regular bathroom in there. But that was something that I was a little bit anxious about. Let's see here. Let's see. So how much percentage of your concentration did the nausea take from you? Oh, when I was like feeling sick, I was checked out. I was literally just trying to like just just transport myself somewhere else because it was just such a bad feeling. And I actually had a tattoo removed when I was, early 20s. And when they would do the laser removal, I would just try and like go somewhere else mentally. So it's hard to like disassociate yourself. Um, but yes, Ross, you ask a good question. Has the zero G flight changed any ambitions to try and get a seat on a suborbital or even orbital flight in the future? Honestly, yeah, probably. I think that look, you guys like my channel because you like the interesting people that I interview. So, I think that that's what I do best, and I think that some of these opportunities are better suited for people that, don't feel sick. And so, I think I'll stay on the ground and sort of keep bringing you interesting interviews, and hopefully one day interview the people that are going to go to Mars and feel very gratified in that, knowing what I know now, which is that zero G is not the best feeling in the world for me. So let's see. Do you have to fast for 8 hours prior to zero G? You don't. I wish that I would have had a smaller dinner earlier in the day, but that's not even what they advise you on. They just advise you on the breakfast, and it's supposed to be very light, which mine was. So I think that, having smaller meals 24 hours, all for 24 hours, probably would have helped, but they don't say to have an empty stomach. They want you to have a little bit of something in your stomach. And so some people were, battling me online, and they're like, you shouldn't have eaten anything. And it's like, well, these people have over 20 years of experience, and they're telling me that I should have. So I did. I followed their advice. They're the experts. Yes. So, yeah, Jeffrey makes a great point. You will now have something more in common with the next astronaut you interview. Absolutely. And I have a great respect for people that do this for a living, because it's a dream for many, but not a lot of this stuff is easy or glamorous at all. Todd is happy that I got to try it. I'm very happy that I got to try it too. And yeah, Zapvan makes a good point. Prices have gone up. Used to be like 5,000. Our flight full price was $15,000 a person. Now, they're not usually that expensive, but they don't also usually include a private tour of the Johnson Space Center with those 3 astronauts as well. So, interesting. But again, I'm not going to like sugarcoat it and say that it's, a cheap thing. I know that it's a luxury thing. And so thank you to Moondow for voting me in to do this, because it really is a once in a lifetime experience. I've asked this question or answered this a few times, but Jack, Doug's son, did not like the zero G as well. It's not for everyone. Okay, Jeffrey says, I wish X did super chats. I do too. That would be nice. And John Smith says, if I did zero G, I would drink a bunch of Starbucks pink drink prior to the flight. So at least if I puked, it would be festive and pink. I mean, as gross as this is, you guys, mine was like Smurf blue because of this like bright blue ice cream that I had. In fact, let me try and find a photo of it, because so yes, having nice looking, having a fun color. If you're gonna throw up, it might as well look fun. That's all I'll say. But let me try and find a photo of the night before when we were all smiles and everything was fine. So this was the said ice cream and the said tongue. So yeah, that was an interesting experience. Yes, it was Doug Hurley's son's first time in zero G. So like father, like son, not so much. It's interesting, right? You would think, okay, the son for sure wants to be an astronaut, for sure would have a strong tolerance like his dad. Not true. Let's see. Looking at the comments here. Man, a lot of questions about Jack. I've answered these many times. So thank you for the super chat from Warrison. You're very brave. Not sure if I could do what you did. Congrats on the 85K subs. You guys were just, I feel like we're so close to 100K. So please share my channels, share my videos, and let's get there. I'm also very close to 75K on X. I'm about 200 people away from that. So if you haven't subscribed to me on Twitter, aka X, I'm at eSheriffTV, and I'll put that in the comments right now if you haven't already done that. We also have another super sticker from Rhino. Thank you. I'm glad that you're enjoying this conversation. And, like I said, I'm going to have 2 videos about this. I'm going to break it up into 2 parts. So if you are not able to watch the live stream or you want to watch this later, you will be able to. But I just want to kind of get my thoughts out while they're fresh in my mind. Yeah, Rob makes a good point. Motion sickness is mainly about what you are seeing is not consistent with your movements. You should not have that problem when you can see the outside well. I really wish I could have seen out the window during the actual parabolas, but unfortunately there were only 2 windows and they were up further in the plane. So yeah, very interesting experience. Thank you for the kind comment. I love your videos. Keep on keeping on. You can do the things that most people can't. And I look, I have to acknowledge that I realize I'm in a very fortunate position. Not only did I make YouTube and covering space news and space journalism my full-time job, which is something that I never thought would be possible, but along with that, I'm getting opportunities that I never thought would be possible, like flying 0G, like, watching the Starship launches from the roof of Margaritaville, just a lot of validation. And I feel like I'm in a very privileged position, but also something that I've worked very hard for over the past 3 years to turn into a reality. So to everyone who watches my channel, truly thank you. It's been an insane ride. Would I fly with the Blue Angels? Recently watched someone pass out. No, I don't get like the adrenaline and the excitement from that. So I'd rather just give, that opportunity should go to someone who wants it, truly. And now that I know that, I'm not so good for it, then now I know. Did you feel any effect on your leg? I did not. I did not feel any effect. And it was interesting too. One of the other customers was limping. He had recently twisted his ankle, so he was limping and he was still able to do it. I mean, keep in mind, Stephen Hawking has done a 0G flight. So, it really can be for everyone. It's just not that everyone is going to like it. Did I fill the barf bag? Yes, I needed an additional barf bag. If I went into space, would I perform some form of gravity? Do you think that would be helpful in making the decision to go into space? This is a really good question. And I actually loved the lunar gravity. And I asked some of the other participants, that's 1/6 of gravity here. I asked some of the other participants, and they also preferred the lunar parabolas. And we only got to do 3 lunars, but it was fun to have some amount of control, right? You're able to do a one-handed push-up because you're super light, but you still have some gravity. And I think I liked the lunar a lot more. Furthermore, I'd be curious if there were any way to do just a lunar only, if I would have even gotten sick. I'd be very curious. But unfortunately, 0G is the name. 0G is, what people want to experience until they realize they have a preference that they didn't even know about. So I don't think that they're going to offer that, but if I could do that, I would do that like tomorrow for sure. Let's see. Thank you. Joey says, as Felix would say, Ellie, rock. Everyone can get sick, but you have a great experience before the barf, which is true. Thank you, El Hungaro, for the super sticker. Geez, you guys are feeling very generous on this Monday, and I really do appreciate it. Yes, hopefully I got some good video, even though sitting out. Like I said, I let the GoPros and the professional photographer take care of things. That's what they're there for. And I would encourage this. I took Scott Manley's advice, remember? Because I interviewed Scott Manley before my flight, and I said, hey, what should I do? Do you regret anything? And he said, I really wish I would have spent more time just enjoying the experience and not fiddling with my phone, not fiddling with my experiments. So that's what I did. Did I do any flips? I think I might have done one, and it was somewhat involuntary. Also, if you like close your eyes for any reason, that's also going to disorient you. So it's yeah, it's rough. Did my boyfriend get sick? Was he sitting? No, he's a champ. He was fine. He was fine, except for he did tell me this because he's like has a very high tolerance. And he said this was by far the most, nausea inducing thing he's ever done. And there were two periods, one on actually the third parabola, so very early on, and then one near the end where he was kind of uncomfortable, but not to my degree. But he wasn't, he wasn't a-okay. And by the time the parabolas were over, he was also ready to like get off the plane. We had to like fly back all the way over Florida, so it took a bit to get off. But we were all kind of done at that point. So interesting. Thank you for the super chat from Backyard Mechanic 101. Thank you guys, everyone, and I'll keep talking for a bit because it seems like a lot of you guys are still hanging out with me. A-Let says, my stomach wouldn't be able to handle it, wouldn't have it. Yep, not a lot of people's did. So let's see. If there was a form of gravity in space, would you consider going? I think absolutely. And I think even without the gravity, I would still consider going. I think what's harder is the transitions between 0G and 2G in, 30 seconds. That's what's hard. So if you're at the ISS, you're definitely going to adapt. Even if you're sick for the first 2 days, which happens to people, you're definitely going to adapt. And I think 0G is an incredible feeling. It really is. Yes, Scott makes a good point. Courage is knowing something is going to be difficult or dangerous and doing it anyway. It definitely is. Thank you guys for like being so supportive. And Ross has so many interesting people to chat to on this flight. It was obviously an added bonus. And I'm glad you guys are enjoying this discussion because one thing that's interesting to me is if you like look up 0G reviews, 0G YouTube videos, it's all kind of like really polished, like, oh, here's a video of Kate Upton in a bikini doing 0G, or, oh, here's like NASA people doing research in 0G. I don't think that there's like a honest, like experience. This is what you can expect. This is what it was like, the play by play. So I'm really hoping that having my video out there will help people. Like I haven't seen anyone talk about vomiting on a 0G flight on the internet. It's really weird. So I hope that you guys enjoy that. I'm not going to hold back from my opinions. And again, it's not to diminish the experience, but my experience wasn't like everyone else's. And some people still had the best time of their lives through and through. They didn't have any sickness. So it just really depends on who you are. Interesting. Space Affairs says, no worries. As more you do, the better it gets. Trust me, I've done more than 3,000 parabolas in the last 20 years. That is crazy. Well, and that's the thing too. I'm sure it's something you could get adjusted to. They even have a frequent flyer program where they dock off $1,500 per flight, but it's an expensive thing. It's like, how are you going to get good at something if it's $12,000 a flight? Got to make a lot more money than that. And you know what? I realized something. If I have like one singular material thing, I'm not super materialistic, that I'd want to make a ton of money for, it is not a yacht. And it's not more 0G flights. It's a private plane. That would be very cool. I say that because TSA and checking a bag and flying home from Orlando and just being in a very crowded airport is not a fun experience. Yes. So let's see. How did Doug react when he saw his son throwing up? He looked sad. He looked concerned. He was kind of already at that point not really focusing on having fun, and he was literally like laser eyes on his son. But we were okay. At the end, we were okay. But that's why they have the sick section, so you can go back there and not ruin everyone else's fun and not, put a vomit in the 0G zone. Yeah, this is a good point. Having an artificial horizon helps orientation. That would have been helpful. There were certain things that you could fixate on, like a screw or, a letter or something. But it was hard. It was hard too, to have like a fixed, orientation point, because let's say I was looking at a screw and then we started to do the 0G and someone would go, in front of my field of vision. And then all of a sudden I lost my point that I was supposed to be looking at. So did it give you a headache? Barney, I have to be honest with you. I've had a headache for like the past 3 days. This is the first day that it's actually let up. So unfortunately, this trip to Florida, I was just super sleep deprived the whole time. And obviously that's going to give you a headache, but I think it's gone away. Sterling, what tattoo was it, if you don't mind me asking? Is the very embarrassing tattoo. It was a chorus to a very bad rap song. I had the tattoo for about 3 months when I was 18, and I subsequently got it removed. The removal process took 2.5 years, and it was very painful. So that was pretty crazy. Yes, I had Space's finest rock stars in my interviews. So I'm anticipating I'll be releasing that video tomorrow, so you won't want to miss it. Please watch it. And if you don't want to miss it, please head to my channel, Ellie in Space, and turn on that notification bell so that you don't miss it. I've had some people say recently that they never know when I have a new video, and you can solve that by just putting on the bell. Yeah, so was the 0G? Was the 0G sickness worse than the seasickness on a sea cruise? I haven't been on a cruise or like on a boat where I felt sick in a while, but I have experienced that. This was by far way worse. Like if there would have been an option to parachute into the ocean, I would have taken it. I was like, man, they should make this not only 0G, but they should also make it, part skydiving if you want to leave. I was like, can we just take all of the sick ones back, drop us off, and then you guys go do your thing? But obviously that wasn't going to happen. And yes, Ross, you make a good point. I want to let others fly the epic future missions, and I want to report it. And that will make me totally content and satisfied, truly. Let's see here. So the 0G had no in-flight entertainment, just a joke. Yeah, there was no in-flight entertainment other than the chorus of, the symphony of people trying to not fly into each other and trying to dodge vomit. I would guess that 0G is going to cut that footage. I don't know what they're going to give me. They might, for their own sake and reputation, take out anything that's too crazy. So we'll just see what they give me. But yeah, it was a very interesting scene in front of you. Yeah, the flight or the price has really gone up, about $10,000 for 15 parabolas. Yeah, about 2 or 3 years ago is originally $600. So it's an expensive thing. And one of the interesting things too, and I'm not alone on this, for the little 0G information that there is on the internet, apparently they do have to cancel and reschedule quite a lot. And that's because you're competing with the FAA's airspace. And sometimes they just pull a change last minute and say, hey, we need this airspace. We need this pilot. You're going to have to reschedule. So I'm just thinking, if you're a person who's spent the full price and you're getting kind of jerked around with when the actual flight is, everyone had a really good attitude about it, but I can imagine that'd be very frustrating. And a lot of it is like out of their control. Can anyone pay to go do it? Yes, I think you can. I think you can have kids even as young as 8 years old do it. So yeah, you got to pay to play unless you are, lucky enough to enter a 0G contest and have the community of Moondow vote for you. So again, thank you to Moondow. It was really an incredible experience. And let's see. Oh my gosh, there's been so many comments. I'm so behind in the comments. Holy crap. Let's see here. Yes, this is a good question. Will I also do international launch coverage? Nova Scotia has a new spaceport. It's Canada's first spaceport owned by Maritime Launch Services. They actually reached out to me. So I'm trying to see if we can arrange something. They want the CEO to talk to me. I'm also interested in going to the Bahamas to see a SpaceX booster land from a resort. So I definitely want to travel more for the channel and bring you guys some crazy, crazy things. Are you going to do it again? I will only do it if I don't have to pay full price because I can't, yeah, I just can't justify that one. Yes, Radical Rick, I hope you hit that 100K so you can get a YouTube plaque. That would be awesome. I will put it behind me. I will show it off. I feel like it's so close. So if you guys like my content, again, please, encourage your friends to subscribe. It's completely free to subscribe. And it's it really helps the credibility of the channel to have just that 100K mark. I think subconsciously it makes a difference. Let's see here. Hope I get an invite from Elon to catch a ride to visit the space station. Your perspective would be great to hear. I would ride a Crew Dragon to the space station, not only because I think that they're super safe, but again, there's just some opportunities that even if you don't think you're going to like it or it's scary to you, you do it anyway because it is a once in a lifetime experience. Yes. So, wow, there's so many comments. Okay. I've actually gotten this question a few times and I'm probably going to disappoint some of you. Am I going to cover the eclipse in April? I booked a trip to Japan during this time, forgetting about the eclipse, and it is out of the path completely. So, no. However, there's an eclipse 2 years later in 2026 that I'm actually going to try to travel to. I think it's Iceland for, and that will be in the path of totality. So hopefully I get to do that, but no, I will not be in Texas. Texas, a lot of people are actually coming to Texas because you will be able to see the eclipse from Texas. I was fortunate enough to see a total solar eclipse back in 2017. I was in the path of totality in Salem, Oregon. I was still a news reporter at the time, and I was doing live reports before and after the eclipse. So I've seen it before. I definitely want to see it again, but I don't want to cancel or modify my Japan trip. Okay. Once you barfed, was it game over? Yeah, it was. It really was. I wanted to, be able to go back out there, but there was just, I felt so bad. It's really hard to describe. So unfortunately, yeah, it was done at that point. Wow, a lot of you guys are complimenting the braids. I'm actually terrible at French braiding, but you know what? I was like, I think it'll look cool with the flight suit, so I gave it a stab, and I'm glad that you guys like it. So thank you for complimenting me, and thank you, Bimmer Geezer, for the generous super chat. He was on the flight with me. He got sick, I think, even a little bit before I did, but he's an absolute champ. And he says, no, we didn't puke. We had RUDS, rapid unscheduled digestive spew. That's great. Rapid unscheduled disassembly for the Starship, but we also have rapid unscheduled digestive spew. That's great. Let's see here. So how long was the flight? It was about 2 hours. But the 0G and high G portion was probably pretty short. Like, honestly, probably like for sure less than an hour. It was pretty short. Yeah, this is fascinating, John. And this is why I actually I'm telling you guys because you're watching me live, but I still have to pin this down. I might be able to talk to someone with Axiom, with flight medicine and space medicine about why NASA has spent millions of dollars to find the cause and cure of motion sickness and still haven't come up with a solution. So this has really like inspired my investigative journalism side to see what exactly is going on and why some people are just so involuntarily affected by this, because it really sucks. Yeah, multiple transitions over a short amount of time will cause it. That's absolutely true. So proud of you, Ellie. Thank you for saying that. I think I've given myself a little bit a hard time, and you know what? This happens to a lot of people. And Ross says this is by far the most detailed account of 0G I've ever heard. And even I saw my mom after the 0G flight and was talking to her, and she's like, well, are you sure that you should tell them everything? I mean, you won the flight, so you don't want to seem ungrateful. And it's like, I'm very grateful, but I also like, I want to tell you guys exactly everything that happened. And sometimes people get sick, and what does that feel like? And how can you prepare yourself if you still even know that? Like, what can you know that's going to help you? And if I were to tell myself advice now, I'd say take Dramamine 2 days before, and don't eat a big dinner the night before. And I wish the sleep thing would have been more in my control. It was kind of taken out of my control, but I definitely needed more sleep. Lord knows I needed more sleep. Do I have movement limitations or pain on my leg? If you guys don't know what he's talking about, I broke my femur almost exactly a year ago on March 5th. So I'm less than 2 weeks away from the year anniversary, but the answer is not too bad. I walked 20,000 steps the day that we went to Disney. I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, Sentinel says, I've been diving 45 years. I can tell you it's not all easy and it's not all fun. Isn't it interesting how we go through things in life and maybe it's terrible in the moment, but as time goes on, you reflect on it. And sometimes you forget about how painful certain things are. And just knowing that you had that experience and that you conquered that challenge can be very rewarding, for sure. In spite of getting sick, are you glad you did it? I will admit I had a pretty sour attitude about it the day of on Friday, but I'm very glad I did it now. I'm very glad I did it. It's a very unique opportunity, and not a lot of people are fortunate to do it. So it's something that, like I said, I'll always remember. And at some point I'll get the video hopefully of my boyfriend and I kissing, which will be cool just to have in the collection. And I'm excited to see the photos. And so, yes, I'm very glad that I did it. I don't regret doing it, but I'm not exactly, jumping up and down to do it again. It's a good point too. Jason says, Ellie, this is more brutal than space flight. You have time to adjust during takeoff, which is true. Let me just put this video up here again. Not much more than 2G. What you did was more difficult. Well done. And so I appreciate you recognizing this. I do think that it actually might be more difficult than just going to the ISS. Marcus House. Woo! Marcus is in the house. Marcus is in the house. I don't know if he's still here because I'm really behind on the comments, but thank you for watching. And Marcus says he would have puked before me. So just because we're space tubers and just because we're covering space news does not mean we're all cut out for this experience. So thank you for making me feel less bad about puking. Yes. Let's see here. Man, you guys are really commenting. Someone wants to know if I'm going to show the throw up. I will, if I'm able to see it, I will blur myself, but only show myself. I'm not going to disrespect anyone else, but I don't mind showing myself doing it. I put more embarrassing things online, like covering a rocket launch and missing the rocket launch behind me, which was not staged, by the way. What was the Apple Vision Pro for? Scott Walter wanted to try it out in 0G because he is crazy, and no one else has done that to our knowledge. So it was pretty cool. Yes, Tin Man makes a good point. $15,000 for a 0G jumpsuit, but I got to take the jumpsuit home. At least I have a Halloween costume if I ever need it. And they do give you the jumpsuit, and they're pretty comfortable. Okay, someone else likes the braided pigtails. Thank you guys. I'm glad that you like it. Let's see here. Okay, so maybe I should. Geez, there's so many freaking comments. Sorry you didn't have a great time. Hope the next time is great. We'll see if there's a next time. It's hard to know at this point, but yes, it wasn't a great time, but I'm enjoying talking about it, and I'm enjoying, that I had the experience. Let's see right here. What is this here? Oh, breaking news. FAA investigation for Starship IFT-2 is closed. Ross, thank you for keeping us in the loop. This was just reported by Christian Davenport on X, which means that, yeah, it looks like maybe March we're going to have the next Starship launch. So I'm definitely going to try to be at that, and hopefully I will meet some of you guys there. Marcus is still here. Marcus, thank you for watching. You guys, if you want to talk about Starship for a little bit, leave your predictions for the third Starship flight. What do we think is going to happen? How successful do we think it's going to be? And what would be your definition of success? Man, okay. Would I go to the space station if the opportunity happened? Yes, I definitely would. I would, because again, that is a crazy thing that, you know, hardly anyone will ever get the opportunity. I would be stupid to turn that down. Wow, awesome. Yes, we're getting some. Okay, I think I've made it to the end of the comments. So thank you guys for hanging in with me. It looks like Uncle Yukon thinks March 15th or 18th. Zap Fan thinks Pi Day, so maybe the 14th, 3.14. Marcus, you're getting some love for your channel, so thank you. Hi, Marcus. Keep up the good work. Yeah, people really love to see you here. Sometimes I'll hop in like a, you know, NSF or Lab Padre chat, and people are like, "Oh, Ellie in space!" So people are very nice in the space community, generally speaking. Thank you for enjoying the great content. In your words, tip centric. I appreciate you watching it. And some predictions for Starship. Third time's a charm. IFT is definitely getting to orbital velocity. I'll show you guys some fun little paraphernalia. This is the Starship test flight patch. I should like put this on here. That'd be, oh my God, that'd be sick. Screw my name tag. I should put this on here. What do you guys think? Should I somehow patch this on? Here's also a little chunk of the heat tile from 420's launch, washed up on the shore. So that's pretty cool. Ooh, my gosh. So I have like these patches, but I should just put these all over the flight suit. What am I doing with my life? Absolutely. I'm definitely going to do that. Marcus says, thanks everyone. Yeah. So thank you guys. I need to actually get going because I need to finish my video that I keep talking about that I'm going to release tomorrow. It's almost done for the record, but I need to finish it so that you guys get it on time. And yeah, I'm going to put these on my flight suit. But thank you for hanging out with me. I'm glad that you guys enjoyed sort of this informal chat about the zero-G experience. It was definitely an experience. It was definitely memorable. Some good, some bad, but I consider myself very lucky. And so thank you guys. I hope that this helped you, and I hope my subsequent videos help you. And yeah, I think that, you know, March is going to be exciting. Hopefully we get another trip down to Starbase. And I'm just glad that you guys all hung out with me, and you know that this is my job. This is crazy. This is really crazy. So thank you guys for the support, and please watch my video tomorrow.